There's a resumption, it's a resumption of debate. I think there was a balance of 58 minutes. Who was on the floor? Honorable Felix Oduor. He had 3 minutes. Is he here? That's also known as Jalango. Okay. Can go to the next. I can see here the Honorable Abdul Haro, member for Mandera South.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the motion that, aware that the Constitution recognizes the people's respect for the environment as the country's heritage and commitment to sustaining the environment for future generations. Further aware...
Sorry, excuse me, Honorable Member for Mandera South, we are on order number 12, resuming debate on the Public Service Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2023. I think it had come up last Wednesday, and we are proceeding with we are resuming debate on it, not a fresh statement. I think we went over that. I can see the Honorable Jane Kagiri Laikipia, member for Laikipia. Do you want to contribute to this debate? She's not here. Okay. Yeah, do you want to contribute to this debate? No, it's the next one. Okay. The Honorable Esther Pasaris, member for Nairobi County. You're also on the list. Are you contributing to this debate? The next one. The Honorable Maina Mathenge, member for Nyeri Town. Yes, you may proceed. You want to contribute to this debate? Asante, proceed.
Honorable Speaker, this motion by member for Embakasi has come at a very timely point in the course of the tenure of the Kenya Kwanza government. The delivery, the success of this government is largely hinged on the performance of the public service. Currently, as structured, the public service is suffering from lethargy and paralysis on the basis of the fact that most of the senior positions in government, in the ministries and as well as in parastatos, have been held in acting capacities by people who hold the requisite experience, skills, and qualifications, but they are unable to make firm decisions at crucial moments because they are in acting capacities. Honorable Speaker, the best example of how this has hindered the success of the Ministry of Health, which right now is charged with the responsibility of delivering UHC, which is a key pillar of the Kenya Kwanza administration, is the fact that the Director General for Medical Services, Dr. Amo, has been acting for the last 6 years in that position. How can the technical person heading the Ministry of Health be acting and yet have the courage, the determination, and the mandate, full mandate, to implement, roll out, and supervise UHC? Honorable Chair, again, when you go to key parastatals in the area, we also have acting CEOs. We go to KEMSA, we have an acting CEO. We go to KEMRI, which is in charge of research, we have an acting CEO. Even in other areas where we have agricultural commodities being traded. An example is the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, where all the coffee in our country, a vital product that is so key to our farmers and also to the foreign exchange position in our country. The CEO is acting for the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. And therefore it is important that the National Assembly does provide the proper legal framework to guide the question of being in an acting capacity moving forward so that we can unlock the potential of our public service and also the ability of this government to deliver and perform. And on that basis, Honorable Speaker, I support and congratulate Honorable Major Donk for this timely motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I also see I have the Honorable Kahindi Katana, member for Kaloleni. Are you contributing to this debate?
Yes, yes. Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia nafasi hii kuchangia marekebisho ya sheria ya tume ya utumishi kwa umma. Bi Speaker, kwa muda mrefu sasa mashirika yasiyokuwa ya serikali na pia taasisi nyingi za serikali tumeona wakurugenzi ambao wameendelea kuhudumu wakiwa hawajapewa nyadhifa kamili ama uwezo kamili katika taasisi hizi. Wamekuwa wakishikilia nyadhifa hizi kwa muda mrefu na hawawezi kufanya maamuzi ambayo yanasaidia mashirika haya. Bi Speaker, pia utaona kwamba mtu ameshikilia nyadhifa kwa muda wa miaka miwili ama miaka mitatu ama minne. Alafu nafasi ya kazi inapotangazwa, yule ambaye ameshikilia nyadhifa hii kwa muda wa miaka miwili ama miaka mitatu, kwa sababu hana uwezo ama ushawishi wa kisiasa, unaona mtu yule anatolewa na anapatiwa mtu mwingine ambaye hata alikuwa ni mdogo wake katika nyadhifa ile. Inasikitisha kwa sababu inarudisha ile ari na azma ya mtu kujitolea na kufanya kazi yake. Bi Speaker, tumeona pia kwamba kuna taasisi nyingine mtu amemaliza kuhudumu kwa miaka yake, pengine amefikisha miaka 55, unaona anaongezewa muda wa miaka miwili kuendelea na kazi ile. Hii imekuwa ikinyima nafasi vijana. Mtu akifikisha umri wake kama ni miaka 55 ama ni miaka 60, anastahili kustafu ili apatie nafasi watu wengine haswa vijana waweze kushikilia nyadhifa zile. Pia kama tumeamua kwamba ama sheria imepitishwa kwamba mtu atastafu kati ya miaka 55 ama miaka 60, itapatia nafasi mashirika yasiyokuwa ya serikali na taasisi mbali waweze kufundisha watu wao ama watu fulani ambao watashikilia nyadhifa zile. Isiwe tu ati ni mtu mmoja ndiye ana ujuzi Kenya nzima, hawezi kupatia nafasi watu wengine. Hii imedhalalisha vijana ambao wako na shahada na hawawezi kupata nafasi, kwa sababu inasemekana hawa ambao wanatakana kuretire waweze kuongezewa muda wa kuendelea kuhudumu. Kwa hivyo Bi Speaker, mimi ninaunga mkono marekebisho ya mswada huu. Asante Bi Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable John Gakusha, member for Mukurueni.
Thank you, Speaker. I appreciate this opportunity. I would like to contribute to this amendment bill, and I would like to indicate that it is very important as a country we respect, of course, the elderly people and people who have served in the civil service for a long time. They have experience and they have what it takes to be able to discharge their duties, and we appreciate them. However, as they approach their retirement age, which should be fixed at a maximum of 60 years, we should be able to ensure that they support, they mentor, and they guide younger people who can be able to take over after their service in the civil service. Honorable Speaker, it's important that we guide younger people, we mentor them, we train them, we expose them so that they can get experience that is important for them to continue running different terms of government. I've seen, for example, people who have attained the retirement age getting extensions from the ministry or from the departmental heads to continue serving. And whereas we continue benefiting from their experience, it also denies us the opportunity of the energy, the vigor, the vision of younger people who are also pretty experienced to continue serving. This also inhibits opportunities for younger people. And of course, you know, we as a country must keep encouraging the youth who must attain the requisite experience. And I want to appreciate that the government has provided a platform for younger people who are coming from the university and graduating to be able to gain experience. Because of course, you know, this has been a major problem where Kenyans have been asked to gain experience before they can apply for jobs. And how will you gain this experience unless you are exposed, unless you get an internship position or experience? And of course, that has been important for our country to ensure that young people are also getting that opportunity. I also want to point out that, to be fair to the people who are retiring, as a country, we must be able to ensure that we have a proper and working pension system. We must improve on what we have today, because I know a lot of people who are retiring have a problem going home because they are not sure that they are going to be taken care of. As a country, we must develop a very good system where we take care of our seniors, because these are people who have served with honor, with dignity. They are people on whose shoulders, as a country, we have been able to stand on. There are people as a country we have benefited from. These are people we have drawn energy and experience, skill and information and wisdom from them, and we have received a lot of services from them. And so as they retire, I want to put it clear that we must also prepare a system where they can be taken care of through a proper working pension system. And this pension system must be released to them, must have the capacity to release to them their benefits without them having to follow up, without having to go and queue in offices for many hours, for many days. So this is a system that surely we must be able to ensure that it's working. Honorable Speaker, we also have another category of people in this country who are appointed in certain acting positions. And they are normally appointed in those positions because we are preparing to hire another person to occupy the position where they are serving. Honorable Speaker, we have seen a situation where people have acted in positions in eternity. We have seen where CEOs have continued to act for so long. And this, unfortunately, does not work well for our governance, because so long as you are acting in a position for so long, then you are easily manipulated. You are manipulatable. You are easily guided or over-guided by the people who have appointed you in that acting position. And of course, it's because you are looking and you are seeking for an opportunity to be confirmed one day. And so, Honorable Speaker, I highly support that we have acting capacity only for 6 months, beyond which we must advertise for that position, either to be filled or we confirm the person who was acting in that capacity as in the position as an acting person. Honorable Speaker, I would also want to advocate, as we develop this or as we amend the laws, that if someone is also acting in that position, they must also get a pay that or an allowance that is almost equivalent to the person who sits in that position. So we must calculate their salary, get the salary of the position where they are acting, get that difference, and pay them that difference as the acting allowance, so that they do not get subjected to more services and more work without pay. We have to be fair to Kenyans. And so, Honorable Speaker, I really want to support this amendment. I also want to commend the mover of this amendment, Honorable Benjamin Mwangi Gadhiru. This gentleman has proved that he can be able to take care of people who are working for government in this country. And I really want to commend him for having thought about the young people, having thought about making sure that the pension system is working for the retirees, and also ensuring that people do not act for a long time, and those who act either are confirmed or they also paid their acting allowance in accordance with the law. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I appreciate.
The Honorable Jane Kagiri, member for Laikipia County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this amendment bill. Honorable Speaker, first allow me to start by congratulating the member, Honorable Major Dong, for bringing such a very important amendment to this House. Honorable Speaker, for me, I would start by supporting that nobody should act in acting capacity for more than 6 months. This, Honorable Speaker, is because this person lacks stability in their position of work. And first looking at it, nobody would appreciate walking to a job every day, not knowing if tomorrow you'll still be the person serving in that position. That lack of stability, Honorable Speaker, as a country, we can keep complaining of where institutions are not performing, but those are some of the reasons. Because an acting capacity person may not be able to make long-term decisions for an institution, and these long-term decisions eventually affect the country as a whole. Equally, Honorable Speaker, the person may not also know for how long they'll be holding the position, and actually it affects even the projection of their career because of that uncertainty of not knowing how best they should perform, and thus they end up not performing at their optimum. Honorable Speaker, it is also an issue of increased workload to a person in acting capacity, yet in Kenya, we are not running short of people who can perform and work. So, Honorable Speaker, with those few points, I support the amendment bill and strongly support that nobody should actually be in acting capacity beyond 6 months. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Before we proceed, honorable members, I wish to recognize a delegation of staff from the United Republic of Tanzania seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation comprises of 3 members of staff drawn from the Budget Office of the National Assembly of Tanzania. They are welcome to observe the proceedings of the National Assembly, and on behalf of the Right Honorable Substantive Speaker and myself and the rest of the members of the Assembly, I welcome you to Nairobi. Asante. The Honorable Member for Mombasa County, Zamzam Chimba. Oh, sorry, Honorable Zamzam, I've been informed that you had spoken previously on this point. That's okay, I just saw your name on this. The Honorable Adan Haji, Member for Mandera West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support this amendment. It is very, very important. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, the Public Service Commission is the most important employer in this country, and it is supposed to be looked at as the best employer in the world, in the country, because it's a very old institution. It has gone through a lot of ups and downs. It has been perfected for many years, and therefore is supposed to be the best employer in the country, where other employers, the private sector employers and other employers, are supposed to emulate this public service Public Service Commission. But unfortunately, as time goes on, you see a lot of loopholes within the Public Service Commission. Notably, the number of heads of sagas or organizations or departments of the public who are acting in acting position for so many years are just enormous. And this interferes seriously with the performance of those heads of organizations who have been acting. They are at the mercy of their boards, because they know at one time they will be called for an interview, and therefore this board is going to interview them, or the Public Service Commission, and as long as they are acting, they will not be able to perform effectively, because they will try to please those board members who ultimately will interview them, either give them that job or give to somebody else. And in that case, it is very unfortunate that this acting period is too long. So I support that nobody should act more than 6 months. Before the 6 months elapse, the person should either be confirmed or somebody else should be given to that substantive position so that efficiency can take place within the public service. On the issue of retirement age, I also support the amendment as it has been brought. But unfortunately, why many public servants do not want to retire or leave at retirement age is because getting the pension itself is a big problem. Public servants retire and some of them die without getting their pension. It takes too long to pay their pensions. They go around. These are people who have been in the public service for over 30 years or so. They are used to a certain lifestyle, and all of a sudden, when the salaries are stopped because they have retired, no pension, and while looking for their pension, and the pension departments of this country is very corrupt, and they are forced to be corrupting their ways in order to get their pension, and they might not be even able to afford, and hence they get shock of their lives, and many of them die without getting their pension. And therefore, we should come up with also ways and means of ensuring that immediately a public servant retire, he or she must get their pension within a month or 2. Otherwise, this delaying of the pension is what is also causing public servants not to be happy to exit the place. They will like to stay there, they will request for extension, they will not be even mentoring their juniors in future, to take over from them because they want to say that there is nobody who is ready to take over from me, and therefore I should get a 5-year extension or 3 years extension just because of the way the situation is ahead there. With that, I support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable John Waluke, member for Sirisia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance also to contribute on this amendment bill. Honorable Speaker, people in the civil service in the acting positions suffer. Madam Speaker, someone can act in a position for many years without being confirmed, and there are some even who reach retirement age in acting capacity. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the honorable member who has brought this so that we can amend it and support it and pass it. And after passing this bill, Madam Speaker, the implementation committee should immediately act on it so that people can realize and know their position in the civil service. You have been here, even you, Madam Speaker, for some time in this house. We saw the CEO for CDF, Bruno. I can cite him as an example who acted for 6 years in acting position, Honorable Speaker. And we were wondering why, if someone can act for such a long time as a CEO, 6 years in acting position, Madam Speaker. So I propose and thank the Member of Parliament, Member Kasi, who thought it wisely and brought this to the floor of the House so that colleagues can also chat, because we come from the communities and our people are the ones who brought us here, and they are ones who are suffering, especially the teachers. A teacher can stay acting, and that teacher, she or he is teaching for all years, even 10 years, even 15 years. For example, there's a teacher who was in my constituency, Madam Speaker, who was employed when he is remaining only with 15 years to retire. So this is a good bill, and all of us, Madam Speaker, need to pass it, and so that it can help many people. Because somebody can act and, or let me say, Madam Speaker, when you reach 60 years of retirement, there are people, Madam Speaker, who doesn't know, who are not prepared properly that they are going to retire in when they reach 60. And you see, it must be that when you reach 60 years or 59 years, you just know that you are reaching 60, and you prepare yourself also to prepare your mind that you are retiring, to pave way for the young people also who are coming up. And this be compulsory that we all civil servants retire when you reach 60. This thing of maybe adding years, there are people, Kenyans even, who have forged their age, and they have maybe some are reaching 70, and IDs reach, read 50 or 55, and somebody, because he lied on his or her age. So, Madam Speaker, we need to scrutinize, and we need to pass this bill that when you reach 60, you must retire. So I support this bill, Madam Speaker. Thank you, and I support.
The Honorable Member for Mavoko, Honorable Patrick Makau. Is that there? Oh, it's there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the onset, let me support this motion of Employment Act. Madam Speaker, yes, I agree with all the speakers that when you look at the retirement age, Madam Speaker, Kenya is in the gap of the developing countries, or it's perceived to be a developed country. So, Madam Speaker, you find someone who is supposed to go home at 60, they are still young. Yes, I know there has been contracts that are being extended to some civil servants, which to me, I find it very okay, because we need to tap the expertise, the institutional memory of some of this. For example, Madam Speaker, yes, I have seen very senior civil servants retire from mainstream professions like engineering, medicine. Madam Speaker, if as a country we can have a data bank where we have such professionals who can be utilized by the nation, so that as much as we want to create jobs for the youth, we create jobs for the unemployed, we maintain and retain those who can add value in the service delivery in this country. Madam Speaker, I just walked in, I have not checked the bill, but I think I thought it's important for me to add my voice on that. I thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Loima, Honorable Prontus West Seat.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to add my force into the debate. Madam Speaker, the issue of acting capacity or person acting for several years has been used by many employers as a way to misuse those who are acting in that capacity, because they know these persons may not be able to actually make decisions that are substantive or profound to ensure that particular institution goes forward. And this is, Madam Speaker, is an abuse, because in most cases, some of these institutions may not be able to move well as it has been actually designed. And you find in most cases this happens in parastatals. Most parastatals are the ones actually putting people in acting capacities for more than actually 5 to 6 years. And you know, most of these people do not even get the benefits at that particular position. They continue earning their salary. If they were an HR person, she or he will continue earning the HR person salary, not in the capacity or as the CEO, despite the fact that this person has added roles and responsibilities. So I think this is actually a misuse and is tantamount to abuse of office. Madam Speaker, one other thing that has not been mentioned is the issue of organizations or companies employing people at on casual basis. There are people who have worked as casual workers for as many as 10, 5, 7 years. And I think the law is very clear that you cannot work as a casual person for more than 3 months. That person has to be confirmed, or if anything, that person has to be discontinued. But this is going on in many organizations, and it has to be looked into, because these people are being exploited, because they are paid very meager wages, and because of their vulnerabilities, they are being misused. So with those few remarks, I support Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kirinyaga Central, Honourable Joseph Kitari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. Madam Speaker, I want to support and congratulate the member who has moved this bill, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we know that very many people are graduating from our universities in different disciplines of degrees, but because of these extensions we are getting from the public service, at times they are unable to get jobs within the State Department. Madam Speaker, I want to cite a serious issue that I noted. I'm in the railway profession, and when they started the AZIMIO program, a person who had retired had to get a contract for 2 years to run that. And because of inefficiencies, that's why AZIMIO has a problem today, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you make it mandatory for when people get to 60, they mandatory go home from the public service, we are opening employment vacancies for our university students. We are parents, and there is this saying that when people get to the age of 60, they say that they are retired, but they are not tired. I think it is good time for people to go and take care of their siblings and their grandchildren. Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Lamu East, Honourable Rueda Obo.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia nami nafasi nichangie katika marekebisho haya. Naunga mkono moja kwa moja, na mwanzo kabla sijaunga mkono ni mshukuru Mheshimiwa Meja Dong Benjamin kwa kuleta mswada huu. Naunga mkono moja kwa moja wafanyikazi wa serikali wote wastaafu kwa miaka 60. Inakuwa kwa sasa vile ilivyo ni kuwa waziri ana haki au wakubwa wa serikali huko wana haki ya kumwongeza mtu au staff miaka mingine 5, 2, 1 mpaka 5. Hii inadhulumu wengine. Watu wangu wa Boni Forest, watu wangu wa Kiunga, watu wangu wa Faza Ward, kupitia kama kijiji kidogo Mtangawanda, wale ambao hawajui watu hawapati nafasi hizo. Kwa hivyo itakuwa haki kama mwalimu wa kule Kiunga anastaafu miaka 60 na wale wa huku wanaojua watu astaafu hiyo miaka 60. Sio kwa kuwa anajua mtu basi yeye ndo anaweza kuongezewa. Hili naliunga mkono sana, watu wote wa Kenya wote iwe sawa sawa miaka 60 miaka 60. Pia nataka kuunga mkono vile alivyosema hapa kwamba matayarisho yafanywe mapema, kwa sababu kinatukuliwa kama kegezo ili mwingine aendelee kwa kazi kusema utaaluma yake hakuna mwingine ambaye anaweza ifanya. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri vile alivyosema kwamba ule mwenye taaluma ile kabla hajaondoka mwingine atayarishwe aweze kuchukua hiyo nafasi yake. Isiwe kiegezo hiko cha kukosesha wengine kazi kwa sababu kumpendelea mtu mwingine. Pia naunga mkono pale anavyosema wale makatibu washikilizi wasiende zaidi ya miezi 6. Maana kusema la kweli tunapoteza sana, kwa sababu wale wakikaa pale utaona mtu wa katibu amekuja kazini hata hana morali, kwa sababu hajui kesho kutakuwa vipi. Kwa hivyo katibu ajue zaidi sana kienda ni miezi 6, either aandikwe au atolewe. Lakini kwa haya yote tunayozungumza iwe ni kwa wale wanaopitia tume ya utumishi ya umma, isiwe pilot marubani au majaji sieleweke. Wao pia ilikuwa nimeshtuka nikiona wote watabidi wastaafu kwa miaka 60. Pilot kitu inaweza mfanya astaafu kwa miaka 60, kustaafu yake ni muhimu, ni afya yake ndio muhimu. Daktari akisema huyu hafai kurusha ndege ndio hafai. Lakini mheshimiwa hapa amenihakikishia na tumeona kwamba haya tu ni kwa wale wanaopitia hii tume ya utumishi wa umma. Hata majaji hawako kwenye hii. Kwa hivyo watu wasishtuke wakaona pia ati ni watu wote Kenya. Kuna wale wengine hawapitii huku, wao wataendelea zile sheria zao. Asante Bi Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Nairobi County, Honorable Esther Passaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to contribute to the Public Service Commission Amendment Bill in the National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2023, brought by Honorable Benjamin Githiru. What I'd like to say, Madam Speaker, is that acting in a position demotivates various employees, and in the public service we want to have very, very good motivated employees who are willing to serve. But when you're in an acting position, you feel that, you know, you're actually probably looking for other jobs, not sure whether this is sustainable. You're more focused on whether I'm going to get confirmed or not than in your performance. What I feel is in the private sector, maximum of 3 to 6 months of acting, one is confirmed. I think it is important that the public service also ensures that within 6 months of an employee having been employed and having done the period of acting, that they are confirmed to enable them know whether they are going to be retained and their new terms, if there are any amendments, and their obligations, and that's when they sign their performance agreement. That will actually improve and enhance the services by the public service. When it comes to retirement, Madam Speaker, we have a huge unemployment problem in the country, but I think it's important that we also look at the figures. How many people do we have in the public service every year that are due for retirement? And when we know that we have X number of people that are due for retirement, we also have to know that we have identified the people that will succeed them in those positions. And so mentorship comes in very handy. When sometimes we talk about having a bloated staffing in the public service, there's something that the private sector does that I think the public sector could also do, which is giving people golden handshakes and early retirements so that they can go out there and then you can be able to sustain and maintain the level of employees within the budget. But retirement can be a very painful exercise for a number of people. And I think it is mandatory for government to also look at how we will plan retirements for the people in the public service. They have served this country for many years. Some of them have done amazing good work. Of course, we know that there's also a crop that doesn't do good work, a crop that actually drives the institutions down because of corruption. So training is also very, very important. Training for advancement in your career, training for succession planning, training for retirement planning. I think that if we don't deal with the planning for what happens after 60 within government for the various employees who've served the institutions for very long, we will only see an increase in mental health, because at 60 people are still vibrant and able, and if that's the only thing they've done, they really need to be held and helped into retirement, because they are still useful citizens of our society. I also want to speak to the fact of pension. When somebody is going for retirement and then they struggle and struggle and struggle to get their pension, I think this is really an inhuman thing that we're doing to our various employees. There should be a way for one to immediately be able to access their pension. When we saw the Office of the Auditor General talk about people who are receiving pension that are not actually liable to receive pension, they're actually, it's all corruption. I think we need to really investigate that and protect the pension, because the pension is the hard work of the various citizens who have served this country tirelessly. We also have a situation of ghost workers. I think while we're thinking about retiring people at 60, let's look at how many ghost workers do we have in the public service. We need to make sure that we have no ghost workers, we have no corruption when it comes to pension, we're efficient in providing the pensions for those who are going, we're training and helping them be able to deal with retirement when it's due. We're also ensuring that we're training the generation that is coming in. Government used to be, celebrated for the kind of training that it did for its employees, but we've seen a drop in that, and that's why you're seeing that there's also laxity when it comes to confirming people that are acting, and this could be another way to breed corruption, because you know what, if you want me to confirm you in an acting position, then you got to pay a price. I think when we tie all these loopholes and make things mandatory, and that is why I commend the Honorable Member for bringing this, when it's mandatory, then we don't have all these loopholes where it's you scratch my back, I scratch yours, you give me something and I'll make sure that you are confirmed. So I think I'll be bringing a question to ask really, how many are the numbers of people that are due for retirement? Are they still in the service? What was the reason for the extension? How many people do we have that are in acting capacity? And why are they still acting? So we can see which public institutions are actually not adhering to the law to ensure that they treat their employees humanely. And as a society, recently we discussed the need to respect our elders. A person who reaches 60, right, is not somebody that is useless to the society. They come with a lot of wisdoms, and that's why we recently talked about helping us recognize our wazazi in the community and giving them something. So maybe there will be a room for us to ensure that you have advisors that can come in once in a while to interact with the various ministries they served and be able to contribute. And I think public participation does that, but they could have a platform, because there is a lot of wisdom in experience, and that is something that the young generation will not have immediately, but they will acquire. So all in all, I support the amendments, and I look forward to us as a country becoming more sensitive to how we treat our employees, becoming more sensitive to how we reward and celebrate those who have served in the interest of the public and dedicated their lives towards public service. Thank you. I support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Gonzi Rai, member for Kinango. Please try to trace a working mic. Okay, you may proceed on the one on your right.
Asante sana, Bi Speaker. Mimi pia nami ningetaka kutoa sauti yangu kuhusiana na hii hoja iliyoko mbele yetu. Bi Speaker, hii hoja imekuja kwa wakati mwafaka kwa sababu tunapozungumzia masuala haya ya kazi, nafikiri ni muhimu tufahamu kwamba lengo kubwa hasa la hoja hii ni kutaka kuboresha morali za wafanyikazi katika hii Public Service Commission kwa sababu ya ule ugandamizaji ambao uko hasa katika sekta hii. Bi Speaker, kumekuwa na hatari ambazo zimekuwa zikifanyika hasa watu ambao wako katika sehemu kame kama kule kwangu Kinango. Mtu, Bi Speaker, penginepo mwalimu anaenda zake ama anaenda retirement na mwalimu anayemshikilia atapewa nafasi ile na atakaa pale kwa muda wa karibu miaka 6, na unaona kwamba huyu mwalimu anatosha kuchukua hiyo nafasi, lakini kwa sababu ya kutojua ni nani wa kunisaidia, inakuwa ni kwamba akae mahali pale miaka 6 na mwisho wake aje aletewe mwalimu mwingine na yeye aendelee tu kuwa yeye anashikilia nafasi ya kuwa naibu wa mwalimu mkuu. Hili ni jambo ambalo linavunja moyo sana, kwa sababu wakati unapofanya kazi inahitajika tajiri awe anaelewa tabu zako na mashtaka yako, ili wakati wote awe anatosheka kile unachokifanya, kwa sababu chote ni faida kwa serikali, na ni muhimu yeye pia naye ajisikie kwamba yuko kazini na anafurahikia kazi yake. Bi Speaker, tumekuwa na machifu na hasa tumekuwa na wafanyikazi ambao wako katika sehemu kame, na utakuta kwamba kwa mfano kule Kinango walimu tunawapatia hardship allowance, lakini machifu ambao wameajiriwa kule, madisi walioko kule, madio walioko kule hawapati hardship allowance, ama wafanyikazi wengine wote hawapati hardship allowance. Na tukiuliza hii shida inatokana na nini, Bi Speaker, hakuna la mwenye isipokuwa ni kuzungushwa. Na ndio maana mara nyingi mkaguzi wa hesabu huja hapa mwaka nenda miaka rudi akituletea kwamba mtu anaenda retire na baada ya kwenda retire anashikiliwa, lakini mtu yule haondoki katika orodha ya wafanyikazi, na ndio maana huwa yatakikana yule mwenye kumshikilia akae pale kama miaka 19 ili watu waendelee kupokea pesa za yule ambaye ameenda retire. Na la kustajabisha zaidi ni kwamba hata wakati mwingine machifu kama wanakwenda kustaafu wanapeana notice ya mapema kwamba muda fulani unaenda likizo ukisubiri retire, lakini hayo yatafanyika na baada ya kumaliza likizo yake na kuanza kustaafu kwake, malipo yake yanachukua karibu miaka 6, miaka 4, hata wengine wanakufa kabla ya kupata pesa zao. Kuwe na utaratibu maalum wa kujua kwamba kama ni mwalimu, kama ni chief ama mfanyikazi yeyote mwingine anapokwenda kustaafu, kuwe na mipango mahususi ya kujua kwamba baada ya miezi 6 ama miezi 3 mtu yule anapata haki yake, maana watu wengi tunawaua sisi, na ni jambo la kusikitisha, kwa sababu kama hilo tunaweza kukosa kuwa na mipango nalo, na mara kwa mara tunasikia kwamba wizara hii ina wafanyikazi gushi wengi na wote wanalipwa mishahara, lakini aliyefanya kazi kwa kujitolea katika nchi hii anabaki akisubiri malipo yake ya uzeeni na hawezi kupata. Bi Speaker, ni jambo ambalo lingehitaji kuangaliwa kwa ndani, na nimshukuru mheshimiwa aliyeleta hii hoja kwa sababu alijua ni kitu gani ambacho kingehitajika kuangaliwa ili tukapate kuleta ukarabati wa kuleta uwiano katika huu taratibu ambao uko hapa katika hii bill. Kwa hayo machache, Bi Speaker, naomba niseme asante sana kwa kunipa nafasi, ili lengo ilikuwa nitoe tu sauti yangu, na Mungu natubariki.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, time allocated for this motion has ended, and I therefore now call upon the mover to reply. Mover.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And before I reply, I would wish to donate 3 minutes to Honorable Kiragu, member for Remuru, and 2 minutes to Honorable Boko Milemba. Then the rest I will use. Thank you.
To the member for Limuru.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to support this bill, and as I do so, Madam, I support this mandatory retirement at the age of 60 because it will open many opportunities for younger people to get into public service. However, Madam Speaker, we know that at the age of 60, that is not the end of life. There is opportunities in the private sector, and these are people with experience, and they will have resources and experience to engage in many other things. Madam Speaker, I'm one of those people who retired voluntarily at the age of 40, and as I stand here, I know it pays. Madam Speaker, some of the problems we have with the early retirement or during retirement is the people who are allowed to act for such a long time, and sometimes the ones who are acting end up losing because sometimes it is just manipulation to ensure that they don't get their benefits at the end. And Madam Speaker, I propose that in fact, as those people who are in service lose benefits, it is important, Madam Speaker, to punish those people who sleep on their job, to make sure that even them they pay for not doing their job. Madam Speaker, I propose when it comes to the committee of the whole House to bring an amendment to ensure that those people who sleep on the job and watch on people acting for longer periods than 6 months, Madam Speaker, they should pay for it. Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
The Honorable Omboko Milemba.
Emuhaya. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity and also thank Honorable Major Dong for bringing this very good bill and at the timely time. Is basically moving the retirement age from a regulation to an act so that enforcement can be done strictly. Because the gap has been that when retirement age remained as a regulation, then it was being manipulated with those CEOs and people in power to see who they will give addition and whom they will not give. But with this bill now, then it becomes an act of parliament which can be enforced very, very strongly, and I want to thank you for that. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the acting has been really misused. Currently, many public servants are in acting position for more than even 3 years. And it's denying them their due value for the job they are giving. At the Teacher Service Commission, it's worse because more than half of the deputies and heads are actually in acting position. And the worst thing happened, Honorable Speaker, that SRC removed the acting allowance that used to be there for those who are in acting positions. So this then affirms that every worker, including the commission, specifically Teacher Service Commission, if they act for more than 6 months, then they should be paid for the acting or confirmed as permanent. And finally, Honorable Speaker, though not captured clearly, will be the issue of the pensions, which we need to deal with. Currently, many workers, teachers in particular, about 8,000, have left the job, but they have not been paid the pension. And all those forms are lying at the Treasury or the Pensions Department. This is another area we need to fix so that immediately a worker retires, a teacher retires, within a period of less than 3 months, this person should have started getting the pension. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and the mover of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In replying, I would like to thank each and every member who have listened in support of this bill and for their kind words. The honorable members have pointed out so many gaps within our Public Service Commission and given varied examples to support bills, while some members have supported it and pointed out areas that this House needs to conduct further deliberation during the third reading. And in this, I would wish to support Honorable Kiragu, member for Rimuru, and Honorable Boko Miremba, member for Mhaya, on bringing the amendment during the Committee of the Whole House to make sure that even the employer or appointing agent or a person responsible for the mess are also punished. Madam Speaker, from the debate, it is clear there is need for clarity. You will find that this bill is not changing anything to do with retirement age. It is moving the retirement age from being part of regulation to being part of an act of parliament. So, in terms of enforcement, it will give more powers and help firm up the process of implementation across the public service. Further, this bill provides for the penal provision in this event that the appointing authority allows a person acting in appointment for a period of more than 6 months and to recourse with regards to acting allowance thereof upon the lapse of the acting period. Madam Speaker, from the contribution of members, it is clear that we all agree there is need for amendment to address the issue of succession planning by the Public Service Commission and other service commission, and ensure that those service commission take necessary steps to ensure that they train their other persons in organization to replace retiring officers as well as those exiting the service. Madam Speaker, I sincerely thank the Labour Committee led by the chairperson, Honorable Karemba, for their consideration and input on the bill. However, Madam Speaker, I totally disagree with the committee recommendation on changing the period for replacing officers serving in acting position from 6 months to 12 months. This negates the demand for good corporate governance through succession planning, since the public service, as asserted by Honorable Nabi Nambwela, is a going concern, and therefore gaps need to be filled prior to the retirement age. As posed by Honorable Kikaria before this House, an institution must always prepare itself for transition. We should not be talking about 12 months for an institution to prepare for recruitment. The big question is what stops the institution from starting recruitment for replacement 12 months before someone retires. At this time, I disagree. At the same time, I disagree with the recommendation by Honorable Mugambi Ridikiri on amending Section 81, since this section gives room for officers who would wish to retire early to do so after attaining the age of 50 by giving the authorized officer employer at least 3 months notice, which in the spirit of the amendment proposed in the bill, that is to encourage old Kenyans to embrace retirement so as to create more employment opportunity for the youth. Equally, I thank the fellow members who have found some part of the bill being punitive and discriminatory. It is with much humility I remind this House that we need to continue coming up with registration and proposals to better the public service, to which I invite members to make further amendment during the committee of the whole House. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, I would like to use this opportunity in trying to give hope to our youth that this house will continue making registration that will ensure that many years spent in school gaining knowledge and skills will result in meaningful employment. At the same time, let us give hopes to our junior officers whose goal and aspiration in public service are to be promoted to higher offices, that this bill, by introducing succession planning, will make their dreams more realizable. With those few remarks, the power to see the change we will all aspire for. With those few remarks, I beg to reply, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Benjamin Gathiro. Honorable members, question to be put for this motion is hereby deferred. Next order.
Order number 13, the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023. Second reading.
The Honorable Mary Emase.
Thank you, Madam Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move that the Cotton Industry Development Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to provide for the production, processing, marketing, and distribution of cotton in Kenya and its products. The bill also seeks to establish the Cotton Industry Board, and this bill also seeks to provide a framework for cotton farming, ensure value addition to cotton and its related products, and for connected purposes. Honorable Speaker, before I delve deeper into the contents of the bill, allow me present a synopsis of the history of cotton in this country to enable members better appreciate the intention of the bill. Honorable Speaker, cotton farming started in this country way back in 1907, and it reached its peak in 1985, where cotton was the main exchange earner, foreign exchange earner for this country. Honorable Speaker, indeed, cotton was a valuable cash crop that sustained many families in the areas that did cotton farming. I come from the Lake region, where cotton was one of the main cash crops. I remember picking cotton. I remember seeing cotton in almost every farm in my neighborhood. But today, Madam Speaker, the story is different. In the 70s and the 80s, Kenya produced close to 100,000 bales of cotton. And this compares very well with our neighboring countries like Tanzania and Uganda. Uganda produced 400,000 bales of cotton, while Tanzania produced 700,000 bales of cotton then. So what does this mean, Madam Speaker? That there's a lot of potential in cotton farming. We used to have millers, industries like the Kisumu cotton millers, famously known as Kikomi then, that used to do the ginning. But by 2014, we were hardly producing 25,000 bales of cotton. And today, we can hardly produce 7,000 bales, which translates to 3,000 metric tons of lint. So what happened? Where did the rain start beating us? The collapse of cotton farming in Kenya is blamed on a number of factors. one of them being poor performance on weak farmer organizations. It is also blamed on a high cost of production, the inadequate quality inputs of poor seeds is also a contributor to the collapse of cotton industry. Over-reliance on rain-fed production, and also the middlemen. In fact, currently, there's still a lot of confusion. Those who have already registered to be cotton farmers and have started planting cotton do not even know where to take their cotton to. The ginaries that have been operationalized are very few and sparsely distributed, in further increasing the cost of transportation and giving an advantage to middlemen to take over and earn from the sweat of the cotton farmers. Madam Speaker, also lack of research and development. Because the last time this country did any serious research and development on cotton and produced improved seed was in 1989. So, Madam Speaker, during the cotton boom in the 70s and the 80s, the government had supported the industry through the Cotton Board of Kenya, which had organized marketing strategies. And therefore, farmers were paid, they were being such as Raymond's, Rift Valley Textiles, that's the River Tex, as well as Kikomi. We had ginning factories built across the country, in Malindi, Klindini, Kisumu, and at that time there were even experimental farms for research and development in Malindi, Mombasa, Voi, and even Kibos in Kisumu. But the textile market was liberalized in 1991. After it was liberalized in 1991, the board became ineffective. Importation of second-hand clothes commenced. And therefore, this posed a serious challenge to the local clothes industry, and farms gradually collapsed. So what are we saying? That this can be reversed. These challenges can be addressed. And therefore, the sector still has a huge potential. Even those that have been revived, all of them are private ginaries except one, Luanda in Busia County. A lot still needs to be done because there is great potential that is untapped and that can create a lot of employment opportunities. Today, we only have 3 existing factories, Rivatex, Supra, and Thika Textiles. These 3 require 100,000 bales of lint, which is equivalent to 45,000 metric tons, to operate at optimum capacity. But the current production, like I said earlier, is only 7,000. So what happens to the balance? The balance is being imported from the neighboring countries, from Sudan, from Uganda, and even Tanzania. And this is what we could actually engage our farmers to begin to produce so that we create more value and then we benefit our farmers in this country. So among the ginaries that we have Meru ginary in Meru, we have Sugin in Tarakanidi, we have Kitui in Kitui, there's Makwiny ginary in Makwiny, we have Salawa in Baringo, and we have Luanda in Busia. Honorable Speaker, so many others have not been operationalized. Even in Busia County, where I come from, we still have Amukura ginaries, we have the Malakisi ginaries. We only have one in Luanda, and for a farmer in Teso North or Teso South to transport his cotton all the way to Luanda in Funyula, it is quite a distance. So, and there are so many of these ginaries across the country in other places that may require to be operationalized if we are to achieve our objective. So, Honorable Speaker, in short, I'm just saying that the average ginning capacity utilization across ginaries is less than 25% due to low supply of the raw materials. That is the seed cotton. Further, in 2019, the country embraced BT cotton so as to scale up cotton production. BT cotton is a high-yield, pest-resistant and drought-tolerant improved breed of cotton. But it was so expensive that very few farmers were onboarded through subsidy that it did not take off. But I'm happy that currently the government has taken it up in the list of farmers who have just been registered. They were supplied with BT cotton, and we're expecting to get better yields and better output out of those interventions. A few farmers were accommodated then. This is very important because we are setting up industrial parks. They are expected to do ginning, cloth making, textile, create employment opportunities. This cotton seed can also be used to make cotton seed cakes that can be used in a dairy farming, thereby increasing production of milk and bring down the cost of milk, and that all will create a lot of opportunities for our farmers. Having said that, Madam Speaker, allow me go back to the bill. Honourable members, like I said, this bill, the objects of this bill is to promote globally competitive cotton industry. The bill seeks to facilitate the production, value addition, and processing of safe and healthy cotton and its products. The bill is providing a framework that will promote the generation of high income for cotton farmers and traders. This bill is providing a framework for the continuous and sustained research and extension services for the development of the cotton industry, and to facilitate the introduction of modern cotton farming techniques and the general modernization of the cotton industry. And this bill is to provide a framework for the provision of financial support to the various players in the cotton industry. This is contained in Part 1, and also in Part 1 provides interpretation of a number of terminologies that will be used in this bill. Definition of the board, cabinet secretary, chief executive officer, cotton industry, which includes growers, giners, spinners, and cotton value addition industries. So basically, Part 1 is on interpretation and gives the object of this bill. Part 2, honorable members, speaks to the establishment of a cotton industry board, that there shall be established a cotton industry board, and it goes further to give the powers of the board. The board will have a headquarters located in Nairobi, but the board will also, at its own discretion, decide to open an office in any other location in the country for purposes of efficiency and effective management of its affairs. Honorable members, the bill also speaks to the composition of the board, which will have a chairperson who will be appointed by the president. It will have a total membership of 9 members. It also speaks to the qualifications of the members of the board. 3 of them shall have degrees. The chairperson, the nominee of the apex body of the cotton industry, and also a nominee of the Council of Governors shall have a degree. But the rest of the other 6 members who will be representing the cotton farmers, one from each region specified in the second schedule, will only require to have a certificate in secondary school education. So that particular clause 8 speaks to the qualifications for appointment into the board. It also speaks to the tenure of those board members, which is 3 years. It speaks of what it will take for you to vacate office. And some of these are standard procedures as per our constitution that apply to all the bills. I believe members, you have a copy of the bill. That a person shall cease to be a member of the board if that person is absent without reasonable cause for 3 consecutive meetings, becomes an officer or an agent or a member of staff of the board, and many others. This bill also speaks to the functions of the board. That this board will be the board that shall regulate and promote the development of the cotton growing and cotton ginning. That it will advise the cabinet secretary which counties qualify as cotton producing. It shall also make recommendations to the cabinet secretary on the implementation of the strategies, plans, and policies relating to the cotton sector, and that it shall regulate the import and export of cotton lint and cotton seed, and promote the marketing of cotton products and byproducts in both local and foreign markets. Honorable members, this part 2 of the bill also speaks to the committee of the board and the delegations by the board. Honorable members, the bill further speaks to appointment of the chief executive officer and the functions of the chief executive officer, and that a person is qualified for appointment as the chief executive officer if that person is a Kenyan citizen and holds a degree from a university recognized in Kenya and has at least 10 years of experience. I have to mention that because I know that will be of interest to the members. Honorable members, the bill also speaks to the functions of the chief executive officer, because this person is the officer who will be responsible for the day-to-day management of the affairs of the board. Manage the funds, be responsible for management of the staff of the board, oversee and coordinate the implementation of the policies and programs and objectives of the board, and also cause to be prepared for approval of the board, the strategic plan and the annual plan of the board, and the annual budget and audited accounts of the board. Honorable members, the bill also in part 2 still speaks to the removal from office of the chief executive officer. Those are standard procedures. I'll not go into details because this is what we go through every day. If you are bankrupt, if you are found liable for gross misconduct, if you are convicted of criminal offense, or if you resign in writing, and many others. This bill also speaks to the staff of the board, protection from personal liability, the common seal of the board, signing authority, that all letters and instruments written or made on behalf of the board shall, on behalf of the board, and other than those required by law, be under seal. It speaks to the meetings, when they should meet. Honorable members, part 3 of the bill, this is important, speaks to the role of the county government. This being a devolved function, and that is why this bill originates from the Senate, that the county government will have a bigger part, a bigger role to play. That each county government shall implement the national government policy relating to the cotton sector. They will regulate and promote the development of the cotton industry within the respective county. That they shall consider applications for the certificates, permits, and licenses. That each county government will coordinate the activities of the persons, organizations, and any other associations within the cotton industry in the respective county, and will facilitate access by players in the cotton industry to such resources and financial support as may be necessary to promote the development of the cotton industry in the respective county. And also I want to mention something on registration. This is very critical, and that is in part 5 of the bill, that a person or entity shall not carry out the business of cotton grower, of a cotton grower, cotton giner, cotton cooperative society, or a cotton association, unless such a person is registered by the respective county government in which the business is undertaken. Notwithstanding subsection 1, a grower who is registered member of a cooperative or a cotton association which is registered by a county government shall be exempted from registration by the county government. Because if you are already registered by the cooperative society or by the cotton association, you do not have to be registered again by the county government. That subsection 2 shall apply to a grower on condition that the cooperative society or cotton association is registered in the same county. So you cannot be registered in another county and then you seek exemption in this county. It has to be within the same county. Honorable members, the bill also speaks to just a minute. The bill speaks about the role of the county government, and the bill also, under clause 32, that the county executive committee member shall designate such collection centers as the member shall, in consultation with cotton growers in the county, determine. Remember that a cooperative society shall be formed in every ward. And these cooperative societies manage the farmers, distribution of inputs, controlling of pesticide, collection of cotton. So centers have to be designated where cotton is collected and deposited before other processes. So, honorable members, this bill is a very important bill. I want to seek all of us to support, because it's for purposes of improving cotton farming in this country. And when you look at Part 5 on miscellaneous provisions, each county government may enact county-specific legislations. Talks about the legislation that will have to follow, and the criteria for registration of cotton grower within each respective county. So each respective county is given leeway to be able to process its own legislation. Honorable members, and in Part 7 has transition provisions, whereby clause 51, it says that on the appointed day, all rights, obligations, and contracts which immediately before the coming into operation of this act were vested or imposed on the Agricultural and Food Authority, AFA, with respect to the cotton sector, shall, by virtue of this section, be deemed to be rights, obligations, and contracts of the board, as the case may be. This transfers all contracts, litigation, funds, assets now to the board, so that the board takes responsibility. Any reference in any other legislation that refers to Agriculture and Food Authority in any written law or on any contract or document or instrument of whatever nature in relation to cotton shall, on the appointment day, be read and construed as reference to the board. So, honorable members, I urge all of you to support this bill. And before I close, I want to take this opportunity to thank Honorable Betty Siengo, who the originator of this bill in the Senate, who is my co-sponsor, and I urge members, especially those from the cotton growing regions. We know what it meant to our farmers when cotton was doing very well in this country. We need to reclaim the glory of cotton. Government is ready to support. Even we were looking at the budget policy statement yesterday. The cotton industry, the revival of the cotton industry is key. It has been captured and it's been taken by the Ministry of Trade as one of their core priority areas. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I move.
Who is seconding your motion, Honorable?
I would like to request Honorable Ijendi Malulu, member for Malava, to second.
Honorable Malulu Ijendi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I arise to second this bill, Madam Speaker, with a lot of nostalgia because of partly what she has said, what cotton was for our country then, particularly in Western Kenya. Madam Speaker, I would like also to thank this government that it's now focusing really in Western Kenya, reviving most of the sectors that had collapsed, cotton being one of them. Madam Speaker, this was a sector that was booming in the 1970s and 1980s. And interestingly, this just went down, and the people who are practicing this, Madam Speaker, began suffering. Madam Speaker, besides cotton production that actually collapsed in the 1990s, we've also seen that sugarcane production also faced the same fate that used to boom those years, but somehow it just went dead in Western Kenya. Madam Speaker, also when you focus on tea farming in Viga particularly, Madam Speaker, it also faced a similar fate. Same also applied to paper production by our pan paper mills that also died in the 1990s. So, Mr. Speaker, maybe most of us may wonder why this collapsed. Most of them collapsed because of the liberalization processes that were there then in the 1990s. And this got Kenya unawares in terms of managing their sectors. Kenya, what I'm saying with a lot of nostalgia, because it was the third largest producer of cotton in East Africa. And this was really considered as a key player in the industrialization process of the country. So you recall, because we have slowed down on industrialization, Madam Speaker, because these sectors actually collapsed, as I've mentioned them. Madam Speaker, during that particular period, you know, we used to hear of Kikomi. Kikomi was a household name in our region, Western Kenya. And I know we also had other generaries elsewhere that were famous for what it was doing for the country in terms of production of clothing, production of blankets, Madam Speaker, and even employment. And this Kikomi, maybe for those who don't know, it was Kisumu cotton mills, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with this liberalization in the 1990s, it's when production began to fall, because now with the free market, the prices were left to the market forces. And because of that, prices began to fall. And when it began to fall now, it was not matching what the farmers were producing. Most of the cooperatives, because of competition and because of now, and unfortunately, interestingly, during this particular time, corruption actually set in, affecting cooperatives because of brokers. And this also affected producer prices, affecting also cost of farm inputs. Pesticides became so expensive to access by farmers. And then also at that particular time, Madam Speaker, there was a delayed payment to farmers. And you can see when it comes to delayed payment, this has been affecting even Mumias, our giant in sugarcane production. But even right now, you find that farmers have stayed for 2 years, like what I've seen in Mumias, what I've seen in Zoya factory, sugar factory, that farmers, after supplying, they stay for 2 years without any payment. And Madam Speaker, you cannot expect a farmer to continue producing when this is happening. So, Madam Speaker, this collapse has caused a lot of suffering to most of the Kenyans, and particularly persons who are much dependent on this in Western Kenya. This bill I support fully, because it's like a wake-up call to reorganize the sector. Madam Speaker, with this bill, when it comes to reorganization, it will actually reorganize the production of cotton, reorganize processing, marketing, and the distribution of this particular crop in the country. And when this is reorganized, Madam Speaker, the beneficiary will be the farmer. The beneficiary will be the Kenyan country. We will reclaim our lost glory when it comes to production of our crops, and also when it comes to stability financially in the country. Madam Speaker, I've also noted that this bill seeks to establish a cotton industry development board. This is key to revitalizing the industry. A recent case, because cotton was the first one to collapse, then sugar production in the country was next. You recall in 2010, very recent, is when the sugar board actually died because of the 2010 constitution. Madam Speaker, this is when we began suffering really in our sugar production. And the recent act, the recent bill we passed here, which is in the Senate, the Sugar Act bill, Madam Speaker, it seeks to revive the sugar board, Kenya Sugar Board, which will actually have control and create control and order in sugar production sector. So this establishment of this board, Madam Speaker, will go a long way in ensuring that there is order. Because when there's no order in a particular sector, then you realize this is when corruption will thrive. This is when the economy will lose money, will lose labor, will lose all that it loses because of corruption. So what we have to note, as much as I've talked of cotton production being majorly, affecting us as farmers, I'm just citing this as a case because I come from Western Kenya, where this was really key. But we are aware cotton production is suitable in actually 24 counties in this country, 24 counties. And they include counties in Western region, Rift Valley, Nyanza, and even Coast region. Madam Speaker, why this bill is timely, I have some roots in Kikomba market. Some members here may not believe. I've also had some business, mitumba, sell. So because of that, I normally visit my colleagues that we used to be there to see how the business is doing. Madam Speaker, these persons in Kikomba are really suffering. You know, like me, the mitumba I used to sell used to come from UK. Presently, these people I used to work with there, they are crying. Mitumba now from UK are not available. And they come after like 3 months, 4 months, but very expensively. So the only mitumba they are accessing now is mitumba from China. And when you look at even the present generation, the kind of cloth our youth are putting on, you see it's a reflection of the China culture, you know, in terms of size and everything else. So, Madam Speaker, if we revive cotton production in this country, even our business persons in Kikomba will benefit because they will start accessing these clothings cheaply within the country, and this will promote actually our economy and promote even these persons who rely on mitumba sale, who will now access their own clothing from the region. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank my sister Mary Masse for this bill, and I second. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jendi. Honorable members, I would like to recognize students seated in the public gallery this morning. Students from Porter House Primary School in Westlands in Nairobi. You are welcome to the National Assembly to observe proceedings of the House. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, be read a second time. Honorable members, the first opportunity will go to the chairman, John Mutunga, member for Tigania. Chair Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Honourable Speaker, I would like first of all to thank the Honourable Emase and the Senator who came up with this bill. Honourable Speaker, the two are doing this country a great job, because cotton is one of the most important forgotten value chains in this country. It is forgotten because we have not been keen at supporting this particular value chain for a while. Many intervening factors have led to this particular situation as it is right now, and therefore the bill could not have come at a better time. The bill speaks to the development of the entire industry. It speaks to providing for production of cotton in a variety of ways. It speaks to processing of the cotton. In other words, it's very emphatic on the value addition of the cotton itself. It speaks to the products that come from the cotton as a crop. It also speaks to the marketing aspect of it and then distribution of the cotton and cotton products. Honourable Speaker, if you look at those aspects of the value chain, production, many Kenyans, especially Kenyans in the medium and low altitude, would benefit immensely if they engaged in cotton. But such benefits are not accruable if they produced cotton and they didn't know where to take it. And I'll be talking about that in a moment. Many Kenyans would engage in processing of cotton, and processing of cotton has huge opportunities in the sense that, first of all, it would engage many people in terms of employment. It would also lead to value addition of the products themselves. It would open opportunities for Kenya to sell our products in other parts of the world. So it would therefore bring the very scarce foreign exchange or foreign currency. So cotton is a huge contributor to development of our country. So establishing the Cotton Industry Board is key, as brought in this particular bill. And I want to specifically recognize the fact that it is being called Cotton Industry Board. It is not a cotton production and regulation. It is a Cotton Industry Board. And in this case, the board encompasses almost everything that will happen in that particular value chain. Therefore, it provides for the framework for cotton farming, and that identification of the areas where cotton is going to be produced, the approaches that are going to be used in the production of cotton itself, the engagement of the different producers of the cotton, and promotion of the cotton production, as it were. It basically looks at the value addition in the cotton industry. And value addition in this particular case starts right from the farm. Having good lint produced or good cotton products from the farm, the separation of the seed, the contaminants from the lint itself at the spinning level or at the ginnery level, the activities that go on in textile milling, in spinning and others, so that you can produce the apparels and clothes. So cotton is really key as a crop in this country. The bill speaks of generation of high income. In other words, the sector itself can lead to a lot of income generation through cotton farming and cotton trading. Cotton manufacturing, as it were, also leads to engagement of our people. The bill basically gives us the opportunity to focus a lot closer on the technologies that are necessary in the cotton industry. It helps us to focus on or encourage our researchers to innovate different varieties of cotton based on the agroecologies of this particular country. It helps us to challenge our universities and research institutions to come up with management practices that will be appropriate for cotton development in this particular country. So it is specifically focuses on the research in or giving us an environment to intensify research in the cotton industry. So the bill is key in the sense that it reorganizes the cotton sector, reorganizes effort within the cotton sector, and enables technologies, innovations, and management practices to be upgraded in this country. The bill will help us to promote the use of cotton. Uses of cotton are many. There is the production of textiles and apparels, which at the end of the day end up into the clothing industry. And the clothing industry is huge. There is also the production of livestock feed. Honourable Speaker, I'll pause there to explain how this country suffers, especially when it comes to raw materials for livestock feed production. We have had to import concentrates, rather not concentrates, we have had to import the protein components of the livestock feed, which are basically the industrial byproducts of cotton, sunflower, and others. So the cotton seed, after extraction of the oil, is used for livestock feed manufacturing. It's a major component in livestock feed manufacturing. This, Honourable Speaker, we have been importing from other countries like Tanzania and Uganda. The bill gives us an opportunity to boost the textile industry in this country. The textile industry is key. The textile industry, even under the circumstances, even after the huge interference by introduction of the second-hand clothes in the market, is still the second most important employer in this country. Evidently, there are shops all over, and most of those shops sell cotton products. But if you ask yourselves, how many of these cotton products are Kenyan in origin, made of cotton from our farmers, there will be very few. So there is need for us to focus on reorganizing this industry. And that is why the sponsors of this bill have really hit where it matters. In this country, historically, Honourable Speaker, cotton peaked in terms of performance in 1984. That is the time when we were able to produce over 70,000 bales of cotton in 1984. That time, we had many textile industries, textile mills. We had around 52 textile mills in this country. That time, many people were engaged in the cotton industry. That time, we were producing a lot of clothing and apparel, textiles and apparels of our own. And that time, indeed, Honourable Speaker, the textile and clothing industry was the second highest employer in this country. But unfortunately, so many things that happened into the sector, and the Honorable Emase has very ably articulated, have led to this particular industry or value chain being affected considerably. The mills have reduced from 52 to a mere 15, if they are working. The employment has gone down considerably. There has been collapse of the industry. So we are talking about collapse of the cotton industry. Therefore, the bill comes to resuscitate this particular industry. Madam Speaker, we can sometimes explain ourselves out of the global reforms, the global economic reforms. We can bring in the issues of structural adjustment programs of the 1980s. We can bring in the mini liberalization, trade liberalization attributes, and say that that is why cotton industry collapsed. But, Honourable Speaker, the truth is that we stopped supporting this particular industry. We stopped supporting the farmers of this country. We had gineries all over, but today we have a pelty 15 in this country. Honourable Speaker, the current production out of a peak of 70,000 bales that time is only about 7,000 tons. But the country has huge potential for producing up to up to or beyond 200,000 metric tons. It is possible for us to produce, to move the production from 7,000 metric tons currently to more than 200,000 metric tons. Let's look at the impact of having 193,000 metric tons more of cotton in this country. It would mean many more Kenyans engaged in production. It would mean many more Kenyans engaged in the handling of the cotton itself, in the harvesting of the cotton itself. It would mean many more gineries revitalized or rehabilitated or refurbished to possibly process this cotton.